messing around with like the Blue Yeti settings, and I was sending little clips to my partner in crime, and we had everything done. We knew what setting was the best, which one sounded which way. Cool. I always like to record my Patreon videos either on Thursday, on Friday, just in case something happens and I still have enough time to fix it before Sunday. So today's Friday, and I'm sitting here ready to go, and now I have learned to always do a sample video first just to make sure it works. So both microphones, nothing would work. It would work, but my voice was so faint no matter what I did. I could not get it to be loud. And then I noticed, I'm like, wait a minute, there's no way both brand new mics don't work all of a sudden. And then I realized it is probably this. This is the USB. Now, in order for the microphones to work on either your Mac or your iPhone, I have to buy this, and then you take this is the mic, this is the end, this mic with this connection. I then put it in here, and then connect this to my iPhone, and the microphone should work. Well, like I said, they both worked yesterday. They did not work today. So my nephew has always told me, like, when it comes to the iPhones, especially like my new Mac and my iPad Pro, to always buy stuff off the Apple Store, which I've been doing. Like any chargers or anything, I go right to the Apple Store. I stopped buying my chargers off Amazon and go right to the Apple Store, but I kind of forgot about this connection. And then it dawned on me that I got this from Amazon, and I have changed this so many times, but always off Amazon. So I purchased the original one on Apple today, and it should be here by Tuesday. And so next week I'll be back to switching up different mics, but as of now we are still with the little mic, so just bear with me. Number 2, there are 2 TV shows that I came across actually by accident, and I was definitely pleased, and I feel as if I need to share it with you guys. The first one is called Ghosts, and they have an American version and a British version, BBC, and actually the British version came out first. Didn't know that at the time, but I was going through my Hulu and I came across it. They were advertising it, and I fell in love immediately. It's definitely a comedy, and I have a weird sense of humor. You know, if you can get me to laugh out loud, I love you, because I'll laugh a lot in my head, but if I burst out laughing, it takes a lot for someone to do that, and that show did it for me. It's about this married couple who are struggling. The husband is a upcoming chef and she's a journalist. They inherit this big house. The wife inherits this big mansion, and they're working on turning it into a bed and breakfast or something. Anyway, she has an accident and she falls down the stairs, and after that she can now see all the people that died in the house, and it's different generations, and for some reason some people die in this house and their spirit goes whatever, but some of them unfortunately are stuck in this house. So now she can see the dead, and the ghosts are from different generations. always saying that less than 1% gets addictive, this, and that. And of course, that started a real epidemic with opiates in America, especially. So it's just going to show how some people are trying to take down this company while others are hooked on addiction and everything else. But it is so, like, the storylines are so interesting. There's no killing, there's no blood, there's nothing like that. Few curse words. It's not like that type of show, but everyone plays an excellent role. And although I don't know all the actors and actresses' names, when you see them, you clearly have seen them before. Wonderful staff. It's phenomenal, and it just goes to show you how this whole, epidemic started with opiates. And I am a ex-addict, so I am focused on any of that stuff. I also watch Intervention, but dope sick. I was actually upset that there's only 5 episodes. I mean, it's not done yet, but I wanted more. It was that good. So dope sick if you're interested. Okay, so let's get to the actual video. Now, I know all my videos have gotten erased, deleted, whatever, and I have a lot of new. We lost some, we gained some, and more. But I have noticed that a lot of people are questioning little things that I say, and it dawned on me that there were so many videos on Patreon that, I had my addiction video on here, my sexual assault, my rehab. I had all those videos, and now they're all gone. And so a lot of people are questioning, like, well, why'd you say this? And you were attacked. So before I start this long lost friend story, I have to briefly will it back for those who do not understand where I'm coming from. So I'm gonna do it briefly. Maybe in the near future I'll go into detail, but most likely I will not, because I'm just in a better place. So make a long story short, 10 years ago, or 10 plus years ago, 11 years ago and going on, I had a real abusive relationship, which turned into something really, really violent. I was sexually assaulted by my ex and tied up for hours, and I was sexually assaulted by his friends, followed by him trying to kill me. I had to play dead to survive, play dead and survived. Tried to commit suicide a couple of times, didn't work. My parents would not let me go. Turned to drugs to cope, to be numb, and became a really bad drug addict. Finally, I was fed up. After I used heroin for the first time. When I put a needle in my arm, I called my mom that night and I said to her, I need help. She packed me up and sent me to a rehab facility in Florida. And the program was for 90 days, but I was actually there for probably about 8 months. I stayed. And so here we are. I had a lot of surgeries, this is that, and because of that brutal attack, it basically damaged my chances of having children, which I always wanted. So because of all was looking for love. I was desperate, I guess. And anyway, he turned out to be the worst decision of my life, to be honest. And although I was hurt, I moved on. So here we are. So that's the reason why I don't work out in the real world. That's the reason why I am usually by myself. I stay home a lot. I have severe social anxiety, depression, all of it. So my Navy bitch relationship ended in January, and my upstairs neighbor is loud as hell, but there's nothing I can do about that. So and actually I forgot to do the up close, so that's just a little background of what I've been through and why I am the way I am. I guess, sheltered. I know I look like shit today. I don't sleep much, so I do have my issues. That being said, I have totally cut off anyone from my past. So many of you know, when I first started my channel, I'm still that way. I repeat, I am not big on social media whatsoever. I think social media is the devil, and I think it's corrupting our youngsters' mind, and I think people have taken social media way, way, way too far, But anyway, I don't have any friends in New York. All of my friends, actually, I have met through my YouTube channel, which I am very, very grateful, because to be honest, I never had people who actually cared for me the way you guys do. And there are 3 people that I talk to regularly that actually check up on me, and vice versa, and I hear from them at least 4 to 5 times a week. So that's just a little backstory on how I just really stay to myself. So all that being said, I do have a Instagram and Twitter, because I felt as if it was important to have that to try and grow my YouTube channel. And because of my PTSD and my social anxiety, I have to work from home, and so this has to work. Like Patreon, YouTube has to work, I have been thrown so many curveballs with this channel, but I refuse to quit. Because like I said, I like doing videos. I like what I do. And the fact that I have to work from home, this just has to work out. Although I am looking for a part-time from home job as we speak. I'm actually trying to get into Amazon work from home program, so I am working on that. But unfortunately, my problem is when people see my resume, they keep telling me I'm overqualified for whatever I'm trying to apply for, but that'll be a different video. So I am not really big on social media, but I do have Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So the last one I signed up for was actually Instagram, and with Instagram they're always saying, oh, you might know this person and that person, and I am finding a lot of people from my past that I'm just not responding to, or I block or whatever. The reason for that is when I was going through the trial and everything else, nobody believed me. Nobody had my back. Everybody was like, oh, your ex couldn't do this and you're just a liar and blah, blah, blah. But then everything else. Now everybody wants to come and be like, oh, I'm sorry, Majestic. No, too late. Fuck you. Like, I've done so much for those people who turn their back on me so much and never asked them for a favor, a dime, or nothing. I'm not that type of person whatsoever. But the way I was treated, I was so hurt. And people were like, oh, well, stop acting like the victim. Newsflash, bitch. I am the fucking victim. Like, get the fuck out of here. That's why you always hear me say people got a whole lot to say until it's them or their family member. Always. So anyway, so one day I was on Instagram and I was checking my messages, and when I saw something in my inbox, I stopped and I was like, I remember that name. Why do I know that name? And so when I clicked into it, it was somebody that I knew from where I grew up. Completely shocked. And the first thing he said to me was, he said, Majestic, aka my first name, because if you guys don't know, my middle name is actually Majestic, but my first name is so effing common that I've been called Majestic since I was 5 years old. And so when he said the AKA part, I was like, okay, this is definitely someone from my past. So then I went back and I went through his profile and his pictures, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. Now, it's this guy that I knew, and I'm just gonna say I knew. We never spoke back in the day, but I remember him, and I remember his sister. And actually, I don't know, back in high school, okay, so I had a high school sweetheart, and I met my high school sweetheart working at Dunkin' Donuts. Him and his friends walked in one summer, and I was working there, and we got to talking, and we started dating. I had no idea who he actually was at all, because him and I went to two different high schools. I went to a Catholic high school, and he went to a public school, so I had never clue who he was or what I was getting myself into. And actually, at the end of the day, he was probably the most popular person in our county. He was always in the paper for academics, for football, basketball, all-star. You know, he did the most points and blah blah blah, and then he scored 1,000 points in one game, and they had balloons and everything, not in one game, but I guess in one season or whatever it was. You know, he was always in the paper, and he was the one to watch for. But again, I didn't go to a public high school, so I didn't know any of this or who he was, which caused a lot of problems for me in high school. But anyway, so the guy that hit me up on Instagram was actually one of his friends, and I knew him. I shouldn't say I knew him very well, but I was always at my boyfriend's. If I didn't have a game, I did cheerleading and track. So if I wasn't busy or didn't have a game or whatever, I would always go to his high school and watch him play. And that's how, like, I kind of knew the football team and basketball team. And this guy, we're gonna call him T. We're gonna call him Mr. D. And so at every game, Mr. D would always be there, but he never spoke to me. He always looked at me like he hated me. And a lot of my high school sweetheart friends did not like me, because after the game, he'd be like, well, no, I'm going home. I'm gonna go chill with my girl. say a bad boy, I mean he was into sports, but he was that guy that like always had your back with his friends. Like if there was a fight, he was ready to fight. Like my high school sweetheart, he knew he had a lot going for him. So if my high school sweetheart had beef, he'd be like, no, let me take care of it. You going places. I know I'm not, so I will fuck this person up for you type of person. He was that guy in high school. And even now, I am not, I repeat, I am not into any of that drama. Like, I just absolutely no. So, he was that person, so we never spoke. And like I said, even like if we went to parties or whatever, he would always stare me down, like, you bitch type of thing. But I was so used to that. Like I said, nobody liked me because I was dating my high school sweetheart. Nobody. I remember too, I don't know, I used to have like girls come to my high school to fight me, talk about if you don't break up with so and so, we're gonna F you up. I'd be like, I'm ready. Like I was a bad kid too, not in high school, but I was a fighter. I had a temper back then. I didn't give a shit. So, but I never looked for trouble. Trouble always came to me, So, they are so loud upstairs. So anyway, we, and actually too, it's funny because when I went to my high school sweetheart's prom, Mr. T was actually in our limo. And that's what I'm saying, like, he never spoke to me. He never did. Like I said, he always just gave me this look like, you bitch. And his sister was actually my age. So although she didn't play sports, she was always at all the games, any parties she was always at. So I spoke to his sister more just by passing, but that's about it. So that was high school. Let's fast forward to, I don't know, the mid 2000s, we'll say. So before my attack, I would hang out, I had a good job. I would hang out and this and that. So where we used to hang out at on the weekends, a lot of us used to, once social media came about, everybody started finding one another and we would hang out. And Mr. T happened to be in the crowd that I was hanging out with, and he would always be there. But see, now we're not in high school. Now we are grown. We're like maybe 24, 25ish, and again, he just never really said anything. He never did. And now his sister and I spoke like all the time. Not all the time, but anytime we saw one another at a party or something like that, or at a bar, we would always talk, whatever. And although I went to bars, I was never really that drinker. I would have like one drink the entire night and just sip on that shit all night. Again, I was never really into liquor. But, all of them would get together, they would drink and laugh and have fun, and we used to play games and pool and all that stuff. But again, Mr. T never spoke to me. And actually, the funny thing about it is, his mother loved me. And do you know how I knew his mother? Well, first of all, Mr. T, his sister, and his mother are triplet. They all look the same. Like, there's no way you can say those three were not related. So, but as many of you know, my sister is a fuck up. She's one of the biggest mess that I have ever seen. She is a complete train wreck, and I call myself a train wreck. So if I call myself a train wreck and she's a bigger train wreck, it's like but I raised her son for 12 years, and during those 12 years I used to drop my nephew off at a daycare, and Mr. T's mother would be his teacher or director. So I would drop him off in the morning. He would take the bus from the school and back to this daycare, and the daycare was like at this church or whatever. And that place was a blessing because it would open at 5 o'clock. So if you were an early bird or you had to be work really early like I did, I shit. He is a fighter, he's basically like a street person. And that's all I knew him for. I mean, I know that sounds bad, but it is what it is. Like, that's the only time I ran into him. Like, if I happen to stop by a bar or like the pool hall or something like that. But that's it. Like, and we never spoke. Excuse my stomach. But I never spoke. We never spoke. So, I don't know. And then I said to him, I'm even surprised you know about that. And he was like, girl, your whole case was in the newspaper and everything else. And I knew that what I meant was I didn't think he gave a shit, And then he said, I'm gonna be honest, that shit made me real mad. And now talking to you on Instagram and thinking about that situation is pissing me off even more. And I was like, well, thanks for saying that, it is what it is. I had my demons, whatever, but I moved on. So then he said he responded, but then I just clicked off Instagram. I don't check Instagram every day. I am not that social media person. I am not telling the world, good morning, I woke up, good morning, I'm brushing my teeth now, look what I'm eating, look what I'm having to eat. I'm not doing that. I'm not showing my outfit of the day. I am not that sociable. I'm not. I used to be, but I am not now. And also too with social media, I always said to myself, those people who really fucked me over in the past, like, they're not allowed to know how I'm doing, what I'm doing, or where I am. That's how I actually feel, because that entire town that I used to live in literally turned their back on me, and I was this, I was that. I ruined people's lives and ruined people's families, and I was the bad one. I was the bad one for reporting what happened to me. Isn't that some shit though? I will never forget when that bitch told me, stop playing the victim. Oh my god. I was so... Anyway, so then I would check my Instagram like 2 days later, and he would have messages like hello, and I would say, oh, good morning, and little by little it would be like little conversations here and there. But again, I never like thought or took it any further than good morning or okay, or I would answer his questions. And I think the problem is because of what happened to me, I am so sheltered that I always thought in my mind that like nobody would ever want me, after what happened. And then I had Navy bitch tell me, oh, this is and that, but he was a narcissist, which kind of knocked me down a little bit further. Like, God, how can a human being play on someone's emotions like that? I just couldn't. So after Navy bitch, I just said to myself, I'm sticking to myself. I'm not entertaining no one. It's all about me. I got my own issues, my health, like, just forget dating or whatever. So I answer to no one, okay? And I like it that way. But he would say little things like, oh, no, good morning, or he will leave like a lot of question marks. And then I said, well, if you haven't noticed, I'm not I had a message every single day. It was good morning, good night, good morning, good night. He says, I am not gonna stop until you say good morning or good night back. Good morning, good night, good morning, good night, good morning, good night, good morning, good night. That's all I would see. So then finally I was like, please stop sending that shit. Because it was getting on my nerves, to be honest. I was like, can you just stop like sending good morning, good night, good morning, good night. And then he was like, well, if you give me your cell number, then I will stop. I said, fine. I gave him my cell number, and all the things I thought about him are not what I thought. I have to admit, this is the one time that I have to say that I was actually completely wrong. I was going by the past and what I knew, but I should never have done that. But anyway, then he just started talking to me, just things he'd been through, and then he told me he had 2 children, and I was like, oh, okay. And actually, he lives in Virginia. He used to live out here in New York, but then once his mother passed away, which I was really sad about, because like I told you, she was the director of the daycare, and she was always a sweet, sweet lady. And then I chuckled, and I said, I remember one time your mother told me that if you had a girl like me, you would never have been into trouble. And then all he wrote back was facts, 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 like non-stop on my messages, non-stop, over and over and over and over and over again. And then he did go into that he was the type of person that he had all his friends back. He would fight for them. He would, skip school for them, whatever. He was just that dude. And then he got caught up in some nonsense, in some dealing some type of drugs. I think it was cocaine, if I'm being honest. But I said to him, oh, you used? And he was like, he never used, he just sold. And it's funny, I've been hearing that a lot lately, that a lot of people, just reading through Twitter and stuff like that, like a lot of people sell drugs for money but don't actually do it, which is weird. Actually, it shouldn't be weird, because actually one of my drug dealers, he was like that. He sold that shit, but he never touched it. He never ever touched it. Anyway, he told me he actually had a 10-year bid. I was like, oh, but under good behavior and stuff, he was out in 3 years. So after that, he said he had to, the day he got released is the day he made one phone call to one of his friends out in Virginia. He packed his shit, and the next morning he was on a bus with 2 big bags of shit and went to Virginia and never turned back to New York. So he said he knew if he stayed in New York that he would get into more trouble. He had kids to raise, and he just was not about that life anymore. And then since 2007, he has been on the straight path. He actually went back to school and stuff, and now he installs like fancy, like, I don't know, he does like fancy doors and like fancy like stuff for the bathroom. Like, I guess he's into construction or whatever. I don't know what you call those people. But he builds stuff like front doors, but like say like opposites attract, and I don't know, we are just so different people. But I was surprised when he was like, but I want to understand, I want to know, I want to be in your world. And that just completely shocked me. So then I went into my Patreon family and YouTube, and he actually was around when I got my YouTube channel terminated, and he was like trying to calm me down or whatever, and was checking on me and this is and that. And then what was interesting is we got into the OnlyFans discussion. And now, you see, this is where I can tell people are grown versus grown. You know, he was like, I don't know why people make a big deal about OnlyFans. You see this shit on TV all the time. You know, and that's exactly how I feel. But he was like, you gotta do what you do to make money. And then he was actually saying, well, do you promote on Tumblr? Like, now he's asking like where I promote, and giving me suggestions, asking for my link, you know, actually reposting it on like his social media and stuff like that. This man is actually trying to get me followers. He has never asked for anything, never asked for money, a dime, none of it. It's just, I don't know how to take this. I guess is where I'm going with this. I do not know how to take this, and I don't know. And then I said to him, oh, so the OnlyFans doesn't like turn you off or anything. He was like, why would it? You know, and like he said, it's not like I'm having sex on camera. Absolutely 100%. Matter of fact, I don't have a sex life, so who am I having sex with on camera?